While I was working, I got an email out of the blue. When I quickly got in touch with him, Greg calmly explained that he had fallen in love with someone else and wanted to start a new life with her. He also said he planned to take the fancy car we bought with a loan in my name. Even though I tried to stop him, he hung up on me and disappeared, leaving me with a huge debt. I never thought something so unfair would happen. I felt lost and didn't know what to do. I'm 35 years old, named Hannah, and my husband Greg is the same age. We have a 10-year-old son named Ryan. Ryan has always been really smart, even when he was young, always reading stuff on the computer and asking for my thoughts on it. Despite not understanding everything, I was amazed by his intelligence. Greg, on the other hand, was always changing jobs and couldn't keep one for long. I worked full-time, worried about our future. But recently, Greg managed to keep a job for 3 years and was earning a steady income. He talked about making memories with us, so we decided to buy a $35,000 camper van. But since Greg couldn't get approval for a loan in his name, I had to take the loan for the car instead. Then, on the day our camper van was supposed to arrive, I got a sudden email from Greg saying he'd graciously take the van since the loan was in my name, leaving me to handle the repayments. Confused, I called him right away to ask what he meant. He explained he'd fallen for someone else and wanted to start a new life with her. He mentioned divorce papers we had discussed before and abruptly ended the call. It was the first time I realized I'd been betrayed by Greg. No matter how many times I tried to reach him, there was no response. I even searched for the divorce papers at home, but they were gone. I was left with a huge debt from the car loan. Despite my efforts to contact Greg, Ryan noticed my distress and asked if something was wrong. After hesitating, I decided to tell him everything. Surprisingly, Ryan didn't seem too upset. He even seemed to have anticipated something like this happening. I knew Ryan must be feeling sad deep down, even though he seemed calm. While silently apologizing to him in my thoughts, I worked hard, trying to push away the awful events from my mind. But my body couldn't hide the truth, and my health gradually declined. On the day of a work training session, I couldn't even stand up and had to take a break. I heard my colleagues' concerned voices, but I couldn't respond before collapsing. When I woke up in the hospital, the doctor told me I needed more tests and admitted me. I felt pathetic, thinking it was just emotional stress, but seeing the IV drip in my arm and the white ceiling, tears flowed naturally. Suddenly, Ryan burst into the room, looking extremely worried. I quickly wiped away my tears as he asked what happened, afraid I was seriously ill. Assuring him I wasn't going to die, I felt a strong determination to get better for his sake. But my condition was worse than I thought, and I was diagnosed with a serious illness. The doctor recommended surgery as soon as possible. Following their advice, I underwent the surgery. When I was discharged a month later, I found a demand letter for the car loan payment in the mailbox. Panic set in as I realized the repayment should have been deducted automatically from my account. Checking my balance, I saw it had plummeted from $20,000 to only $33.90. I was sure Greg was behind this, and I wanted to demand he return the money. Since I can't contact him, I'm unsure what to do. Without the camper van, I can't sell it either. Everything seemed to be getting worse after Greg left, and my spirits sank lower. Seeing me upset by all these misfortunes, Ryan touched my forehead and noticed I looked pale. He asked if I was feeling sick again, though I didn't have a fever. Physically, I was fine, but I explained to him that Greg not only took the car, but also all our saved money. I couldn't work yet due to my health, and now we were left with nothing. Feeling lost, I apologized to Ryan for worrying him, but he encouraged me, saying it wasn't the time to give up. He suggested delivering newspapers and searching the internet for work. His words lifted my spirits, and I resolved to change my mindset and do whatever I could. Surprised by his determination, I asked how we could possibly get the car back from Dad, considering it was in my name. Ryan then suggested an idea that hadn't crossed my mind before. He proposed using his phone to track Greg's whereabouts. mentioning a hike we went on as a family a month ago. I was amazed by his idea and had never imagined such a possibility. With no idea where Greg was, Ryan suggested checking his phone for any clues from our previous family outing. Surprisingly, Ryan, who is usually very reliable, got lost during our hike. Following his suggestion, we bought him a kid's cell phone and installed a GPS app that both Greg and I could access. With this app, I could see where Greg was in real time, and he seemed to be moving around a lot. Concerned that Greg might give vague answers and escape again if we found him, I voiced my worries to Ryan. To my amazement, Ryan smiled and revealed that he had already taken precautions independently while I was in the hospital, achieving something unbelievable. I couldn't believe how smart my child was. Understanding Ryan's plan, I was amazed and agreed to teach Greg a lesson for betraying us. 3 days later, I received a call from Greg asking for help, claiming he was being questioned by the police because of me. Suspicious, I went with Ryan to where Greg was, only to find him at a forest park near our house where camping was allowed. Greg looked bewildered as he was questioned by the police in front of his car. Feeling a mix of emotions, I asked the police to give us a moment as a couple to talk. Greg seemed uncomfortable with the crowd watching, so he urged us to get into the car. Inside, his mistress was sitting cross-legged, glaring at us. However, that didn't matter anymore. I apologized for the inconvenience and thanked Greg for coming. The police showed up because I filed a report about the missing camper van. Greg, thinking that actions between spouses can't be criminal, didn't understand. But the police didn't see it that way. Since we're now strangers due to the divorce, Greg driving a car registered in my name without permission was considered a crime. Ryan, as sharp as ever, figured all this out. Greg tried to defend himself, saying he only borrowed the car, but Ryan wasn't having it. I asked Greg to return the keys to my car, and after some reluctance, he handed them over. Then Ryan surprised us all by asking Greg why he abandoned his family to be with this woman. Greg was caught off guard and didn't have a good answer. His mistress arrogantly chimed in, claiming she was more attractive than me, and that Greg chose her over his family. Ryan shut her down sternly, demanding answers from his dad. Greg finally admitted that the woman, Mandy, had joined his company 3 months ago. They were attracted to each other at the welcome party for new employees, and later it was discovered that Mandy was pregnant. Greg decided to start a new life with her, leaving us behind. As for why he took the camper van, he explained that he quit his job and planned to sell the car for money. However, since it seemed like we were using it quite a bit, he thought it would be a waste to sell it right away, so they decided to go on a trip. I was surprised to learn all this from Ryan. After he got lost, we bought him a kid's cell phone with a GPS app as a precaution. We installed it on Greg's phone too, so I knew where he was all this time. Ryan confessed that he pretended to get lost during our hike because he wanted a cell phone. I was amazed at his strategic thinking and suspected something was off with Greg, so I came up with this plan to monitor his actions. Facing the truth revealed by Ryan, Greg was speechless. It was pitiful to see an adult like him unable to offer any rebuttal. In contrast, seeing Ryan, only 10 years old, but able to think and speak his mind firmly, gave me a sense of strength as a mother. I felt determined not to lose, especially in settling things properly. I demanded that Greg return the $20,000 he withdrew from my account, which we had saved little by little since I was single. Greg argued that he didn't have to return it since it was joint property, but I was appalled to hear that the money had been squandered by him and his mistress. It was the moment I felt relieved about divorcing him. So that's how it is. But if you stole and used the car and my money, that's going to be a serious crime. Just because I sent the police away doesn't mean it's not their business anymore, right? I only said we would talk. I have no intention of withdrawing the complaint. I must add the theft of my money to the report. Mom, should I call the police now? I can do it with just one button on my phone, Ryan asked. Mandy, Greg's mistress, had been watching our conversation but quickly tried to get out of the camper van. Suddenly, she let out a scream that echoed around. Outside the car door, Mandy's parents were standing, their faces red with anger. about to explode in fury. Startled, Mandy stepped back as her parents yelled at her. "I'm sorry, don't be so angry." "But why are you here, Mom and Dad?" Mandy stammered. "I called your parents beforehand," I explained. "What? Why?" Mandy was shocked. The truth was, during my hospital stay, Ryan had visited Greg's office and tearfully told them, "My dad left the house with a woman we don't know, and my mom collapsed." Seeing Ryan's sorrowful state, the people at Greg's office suspected Mandy, who had left the company with Greg, and gave Ryan her parents' address. Greg and Mandy had been overly friendly at the office, and there were photos showing them together at the welcome party for new employees, looking like a couple. After learning from the office people that Greg commuted from his parents' house, I went there with his photo. His parents came out when I visited, and I told them everything that had happened. So today I contacted Mandy's parents and asked them to wait nearby for a while. "How could you do this to me? That's the worst." "I don't want to hear that from you. That's my line," Mandy retorted. "By the way, your stomach seems quite big. When is the baby due?" "In 3 months," Mandy replied. "What? Wait a minute, that doesn't add up with when you met my husband. You two met only 3 months ago, right? What's going on?" Greg questioned, bewildered. "It's not time for the baby to be born yet," I added. Hearing this for the first time, Greg stared at Mandy, eyes wide. "Wait, what does that mean? Are you stupid? Don't you get it? It takes about 9 months from conception to birth, which means the child she's carrying isn't yours." "You're so foolish." "What do you mean, Mandy? Have you been deceiving me?" Greg's voice rose with anger. "I almost got away with it. Can't help it now that I'm caught." "You're so naive. You can't see through lies at all." "Really a fool," Mandy sneered. "Don't mock me. My whole life is ruined because of you." "What were you thinking?" Greg erupted. Greg and Mandy started an ugly argument, but nobody intervened, letting them have it out. Meanwhile, we contacted the police again to explain the situation. As it began to get dark, the forest park was brightly lit by the red lights of the police cars. "No, really, I was wrong. I was truly wrong. I'm sorry. I'll work hard and never cheat again," Mandy finally admitted. "So please, just don't arrest me, Dad. People don't change that easily, especially lazy people like you," Greg pleaded. "Exactly. Ryan's right. I can't trust you at all. Reflect on your actions and pay for your crimes at the police station," I responded firmly. "If I get arrested, I won't be able to pay back the money. Is that okay with you?" Greg asked. "I don't mind. Pay me back after you've atoned for your sins. Take your time. Don't worry. I've already found you a place to work," I assured him. "Let's see, there's Ryan's child support plus the $220,000 you stole from me. I'm not sure how much it will all add up to, but you'll work and pay it all back," I added sternly. I had one last thing to say to Mandy the mistress. "You might think you're just an onlooker, but don't forget you're an accomplice to Greg's theft. Be prepared for that," I warned her. When I told them that Mandy would have to pay if Greg couldn't return the stolen money, she shivered in fear. Mandy asked her parents for help, but they refused, saying, "We disown a daughter who causes trouble for others." Thus, Greg and Mandy were taken away in a police car together, thanks to Ryan's smart strategy. We were able to punish Greg and his mistress, Mandy. Though they were released from detention soon after, they faced a hefty payment to me. Through a lawyer, I claimed $20,000 in damages. Additionally, I made Greg agree to pay $500 a month in child support for Ryan. I introduced Greg to a subcontracting factory of the company I work for. The support and other charges I claimed from Greg would be deducted from his salary and paid into my account. I also sold the camper van and was freed from the auto loan. Since then, my health has improved remarkably, and I am now energetically committed to my job. Ryan has been actively helping with household chores and errands. I want to keep moving forward strongly so that Ryan can pursue the path he loves without giving up.